The Kansas City Royals lose again to the Arizona Diamondbacks. What can they do to start to play complementary baseball? And are there any changes coming on the horizon for Kansas City as they fall in Arizona? All of this and more coming up on today's Locked On Royals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Royals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Royals. Email the show, lockedonroyals@gmail.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Royals your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Royals baseball. Even in this season that has been off to a poor start so far, and we'll see if they can salvage it. But we are very appreciative of you making us your first listen. Subscribe for free across all platforms that are out there to listen to podcasts on, including on YouTube. Folks, the Royals lost again, and it was a very frustrating game. It was a game that kind of mirrored, Sunday's game, but to a lesser extent. The Royals jump out to a 4-0 lead in the top of the first, and things are looking great. You're thinking that the offense has turned around. They produced 6 runs the day before. Now they're going to produce 4 runs in the first. Whit Merrifield hit a home run in the first inning, first pitch. Bobby Witt Jr. hit a home run. And you saw a ton of success with those 3 first inning home runs. Witt, and Dozier, Merrifield, Bobby, and Hunter. And then things just turned sideways. Zach Greinke's on the mound, facing his former team, has a 4.5 ERA, and he only lasts 3 innings and gives up 7 runs on 5 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, 2 home runs allowed for him. And then it was downhill from there. Snyder comes in, gives up 2 runs, and it tallies up to 9, and the Royals lose 9-5. Now remember, they scored 4 runs in the first, and they could only get up to 5 runs, which came, the additional run came in the second. So they scored 5 runs in the first 2 innings, do not score again. Despite out-hitting Arizona 12-10, despite Arizona committing 2 errors. Whit Merrifield had a 2-hit day. Bobby Witt Jr. had a 2-hit day. Carlos Santana went 3 for 5, but everybody else had 1 hit or less. There are a ton of just unbelievable outcomes and an unbelievable kind of games that we've seen so far this year that have led Kansas City to be in the spot that they're in right now. With 14 wins. With 14 wins in May. Last year at this time, the Royals were the best team in baseball, which, of course, ended up being a fluke. They finished the second worst record in the division and couldn't hold on, but they've gone backwards this year. There's more playoff teams than ever since that 2020 season. And I think that the 2020 season had 3 wild cards. I think there's the same amount of playoff teams. Yeah, there's the same amount of playoff teams, so more than ever. and the Royals are 8.5 back of a wild card spot. They're 4 games back of Cleveland in terms of the win column. Whenever Cleveland made all those moves to try to, adjust their roster and what we thought were tanking moves, they end up being good moves to keep their roster afloat, and they're kind of all clicking on all cylinders. I'm interested to see what kind of goes down with the Royals rebuild because something has to give, something has to change. And to me, the answer is just playing young guys, but I'm open to all suggestions because I think that 5 years is more than enough time for you to build a more competitive roster than being the worst team in the AL. We all laugh at the Reds, who are outright tanking and outright just trying to be the worst team in baseball. They lost a game in which they threw a no hitter. They get all the jokes cracked at them. They tore down a team that could have contended for a wild card spot this offseason in favor of trying to lose as many games as possible. They have 12 wins. They have 2 less wins than Kansas City, who has told you that their goal is the postseason. That's what Kansas City has told you, that their goal is the postseason. And yet, not only are they the worst team in the AL, they're only 2 up in the win column on the horrendous Cincinnati Reds. So, coming up, let's talk about why Monday was so frustrating and why the Royals need to turn things around. And then talk about how they can turn things around the rest of the way before a Wednesday off day. So let's do that. But first, let's talk about our good friends over at BetOnline, folks. BetOnline is your number one source for all of sports betting needs. Our partners at BetOnline are the continued number one source for all your sports betting needs and sports info for the latest odds, news, and sport developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next year's NFL future bets. You can go to BetOnline for your continued source for sports wagering info from live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. Head right now to the website. You can even use your mobile device to do so and learn more about the trends and actions this year. BetOnline, where the game starts. Folks, I want to show you how easy it is. So you go up to the URL, type in betonline.net, go to sports, their sports book right here, and then you can go to baseball, and the Royals are 1.5 run underdogs on the road. Do you want to bet on that? Maybe. You can also go to football. Hey, we all love football, right? And they already have week 1 lines out there. Your Kansas City Chiefs in week 2. They have week 2 and week 1 lines. Week 2 at home opener against the Chargers. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites at home over the Chargers. Week 1, the Chiefs are 3-point favorites on the road against the Cardinals, who will not have DeAndre Hopkins. You can also check out those NFL futures we were talking about, picks to win the Super Bowl. The favorites right now are Buffalo is the top favorite at plus 670. The Bucks are the second favorites at plus 800, and the Chiefs are the third favorites at plus 1,000, and the Chargers round out the top 4 at plus 1,100. So check out all those bets that you can make on baseball each day, each and every game day for the Royals, and also future NFL bets. If you really feel confident in something happening in the NFL, you can bet on awards, Super Bowl, division winners, conference winners, regular season win totals, everything you can think of, final standings, everything you can think of for the NFL at BetOnline. You can do that right now as we start to ramp up with these OTAs and start to get into more of the training camp stuff. Make sure you check it out today, betonline.net. We are back on the Locked On Royals podcast. On the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. Thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Royals baseball. A lot on tap for us here this week. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. The Locked On Now podcast recaps the world of the MLB each and every day with game recaps from the night before, because we know it's really hard, practically impossible to watch every single MLB game from the day before. So allow us to recap them for you from the local side of things for baseball. And you can check out our Locked On opponents. So Locked On Diamondbacks, you can go check that out. And also, we're gonna have Locked On Diamondbacks host Millard on Wednesday. So our Wednesday podcast will be with Millard Thomas of Locked On D-backs, and then it starts back up again on Thursday whenever we have to talk about the Royals taking on the Twins with Daniel Lynch going in that one to open up the series on Thursday in Minnesota. So the road does not get easier for Kansas City. Like I said about the BetOnline stuff, football's around the corner. Check out Locked On Chiefs 5 days a week on YouTube as well as Locked On Royals and anywhere else that you get your podcast from for Locked On Chiefs. So we have a lot coming up. Of course, Millard coming up on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we'll preview the Twins series. Friday we'll recap Twins game 1, plus take a look around the MLB as a whole, because we got to find something to discuss whenever we're talking 5 days a week about the Royals, and the Royals are losing a lot of games. Let's see how other teams are doing in baseball and how the Royals kind of can mirror some of these success stories that we're seeing from rebuilding teams. And then, of course, we'll continue to recap every single game, every single day here in Locked On Royals. But getting back to the Monday game, why Monday is so frustrating is because it's not like, any old pitcher blew their opportunity. Zach Greinke blew a 4-run output in the first. The offense scored 5 runs in the first 2 innings and have nothing to show for it. And the reason why that's so frustrating, for me anyway, is because, it's really deflating for the lineup. I mean, a lineup that struggled to get right, a lineup that struggled to hit, a lineup that struggled to put it all together or score runs or produce at any level. Right? You look up into this lineup, the only players hitting above 280 are in this Monday lineup was Andrew Benintendi. That's it. That's the list. A lineup that struggled so mightily to get going, it's demoralizing whenever they finally have success and then poof, it's gone. And at every turn, you're giving up runs and you're blowing leads, and you've lost after blowing a 6-run lead on Sunday in the 8th inning. So you go from Sunday at home blowing a 6-run lead, and Mike Matheny saying, "Oh, we're going to talk about this loss. We're going to talk about it a lot." You blew 6 runs in 2 innings on Sunday. Then you turn around and immediately, before you even step off the plane, you blow a 5-run lead in Arizona. That is just discouraging stuff for your lineup that's trying to turn things around. But we'll see how the Royals fare the rest of the way. We'll see kind of if they can bounce back. It's getting to the point of no return, though. You've had 3 different 4-game losing streaks and a 6-game losing streak. That you're currently on right now, 6-game losing streak. My question would be, how much can you take without having that reprieve of ripping off a 5, 6, 7, 8-game winning streak before you just simply pack it in and quit on the season? It's getting very close to quitting time. Before Memorial Day, you're 12.5 out of first place in the Central. And in the wild card, you're 8.5 out. Before Memorial Day. Your season is over before Memorial Day. So it's time now. This next road trip to Minnesota, it's time now to get going. You got a 4-gamer against Minnesota. You got to at least split. You have to at least split, or else your season is cooked entering Monday against Cleveland. Because you go from Minnesota, who leads the division, to Cleveland, who's a fun upstart team, to Houston, who has continued their dominance, right into the Blue Jays, who have been very good this season. 3 games above 500 in a very tough division and can beat up on Kansas City. It's a tough row to hoe. And so that's what made Monday so frustrating. We'll talk more about that coming up. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at Athletic Greens AG1, folks. It's a lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, contains 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anythings, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep quality and recovery speeds, mental clarity, and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Green uses the best of the best products based on the latest sciences. With consistent product iteration and testing, third-party testing for you, it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It costs less than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements that you need. It's an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Check it out today. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews, recommended by professional athletes, trusted by leading healthcare experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervins. Make sure you check it out today with everything that you need by going to Athletic Greens and ordering AG1. You get a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit Athletic Greens/MLB Network. Again, that's Athletic Greens/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the daily nutritional insurance. Check it out today, AG1 Athletic Greens. We are back on Locked On Royals podcast on Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. You can follow the show on Twitter at LOCKEDONROYALS. We're here talking Royals baseball every single day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB for the national perspective on all of baseball. And let's continue talking about the Royals before we have Miller Thomas join the show on Wednesday to talk about the Royals and D-backs series. A very critical week coming up for the Royals. Again, you have to use this weekend as a wake-up call, as a come-to-Jesus moment, as a defining moment for the season. If you cannot muster up even a split of Minnesota, then your season is over and you go back to the drawing board, and it's a sixth season now in which you had 0 chance of being good. And why is that so important? It's important because the Royals have sold to you 2022 is going to be the year that they go to the playoffs again. And then they got the spring training and realized, hey, this is the same bad team as we had last year. Let's tell the fans it's going to actually be 2023. But this year, we're going to make improvements. Folks, it's baseball. We get a 162-game sample size. The Royals are on pace for under 70 wins this year, according to Vegas. They're on pace for under 70 wins this year. You do not make a 10, 12, 20-game improvement from one year to the next. You just don't. It's baseball. The sample size is too big to warrant that. The outcomes aren't random. You are who your record says you are in baseball. And this is a 100-loss team. And you're not going to go from 100 losses to the playoffs in one off season, especially not in Kansas City, especially not with the ownership group and a general manager who don't know how to put a team together and can't go out there and spend big bucks. So you got to start seeing the improvement on the field for them to continue to sell you that bill of goods. And a winning streak in September is, let's be honest here, folks. And if this is going to hurt you, then maybe you should hear this. A winning streak in September is going to make a lot of these bad baseball fans that don't really know what they're doing buy back into this team and say, "Oh, look at the way they ended the year. Oh, shucks, they're turning it around as a young team." Whenever in reality they have like two young players on the team, they're turning it around. They're gonna figure it out now heading into the off season because they had a good stretch in September. No, if they lose 100 games again, which they're on pace to do, and it would be a surprising turn of events to not lose 100 games. If they don't lose 100 games again, they're not going to be able to turn that around in one off season in Kansas City. So now you're not racing for the playoffs anymore. You're racing for respectability. You're racing to not lose 100 games. Can you do that? Can you not lose 100 games? And it's a shame that this is where we're at again. It's a shame that for another season, the only thing that you can care about, the only thing that you have any sort of attachment to is, will that loss column reach triple digits? And we'll find out. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know on Twitter at Lockdown Royals. Email the show, lockdownroyals@gmail.com, or follow me on Twitter at Ryland_Styles. Until tomorrow, whenever we have Miller Thomas from the show on Wednesday, be good and be good to one another.